Especially when people move one way or another, it's because certain issues are driving them in the way of a certain party. Why do you think voters in Nevada specifically are moving more right?
I think it's really because we have a lack of education. Our education here in Nevada is some of the worst in the nation. I believe last time I checked, we were like 47 out of 50 states for education, which is a huge, huge issue. Also, what we see is we have a lot of people that are further right that move from neighboring states like California, like Utah, all of these places, and they sort of shift their way into Nevada. We do have the benefit of being a tax free state, so that, we do drive a lot of business owners, people like that to move here. But again, it's not enough because we have a lot of people that move here because they're financially struggling. And so ignoring that population, and we've seen with Donald Trump, for example, and now Kamala Harris saying the no tax on tips. But again, no tax on tips will only appeal to Las Vegas voters because those are the people that are working in the casinos and in tip jobs. Most of these other folks that are in these smaller towns like Pahrump, Laughlin, places like that, Winnemucca, they're not worried about no tax on tip policy. So we need to get a lot better, both the Democrats and the Republicans, at talking to those voters and talking about what really matters to them, which is definitely going to be the cost of living.
The cost of living, how much your groceries are, inflation are all key issues facing voters, especially voters in battleground states and especially voters in Nevada. So, within the next 2 weeks, what do you want to see, particularly as a Democrat, from the Harris campaign?
Yeah, we have to talk about the cost of groceries, and we have to do it in a way. I'm so passionate about talking about this because I've been talking about it for the whole cycle, but we have to talk to them about what they can understand, right? When we start bringing up things like tariffs and we start bringing these things up, people don't know what these things mean in the context of their personal lives, right? So you can say the word tariff, and to somebody they might just look up online and see what a tariff is, but what does that mean to the person that's going into the grocery store? Because the reality is that the tariffs are not going to be helping them. And Donald Trump keeps pushing it, saying, oh, the companies are going to pay more because of the tariffs. They're not going to. That percentage tax always ends up on the consumer. And so, but we're not talking about it in a way that they can understand that. We have to start doing that because Trump is doing that so well here in Nevada. If you look around my town, for example, I live in a small town outside of Las Vegas. We're a 50-50 split town. And just last week, they started putting up signs all over our town saying, Kamala, gas prices high, Trump gas prices low. I mean, it's that simple, right? So we need to start doing the same thing on the Dem side.
I was born and raised in a battleground state, Pennsylvania, and the economy is the top issue there. And when I talk to voters in Pennsylvania specifically, their big concerns are grocery prices, like in Nevada, as you're saying. And let's say a voter says, well, my grocery prices were less under Trump than Biden. My cost of living was less 4 years ago. I was financially better off 4 years ago under Trump. What do you say to them this close to the election?
Yeah, and that's the battle that we have, is what do we say this, because it is a complicated issue, right? And really it's not because Trump was in office. That's what we have to continue to ride to them and ride home, is that it is not because Trump was in office. We can't always just look at the person that's the sitting president and assume that they have the power to control things like grocery prices, or they have the power. I hear all the time people talking about, oh, well, there were no wars under Trump, right? That's not because of Trump being in office, right? That's just because, well, first of all, there were wars under Trump, but even if there weren't in some scenario, it's not because he was sitting in office. So we have to start looking more critically at what the presidential candidates can and can't do. And that really goes back to education, right? We need to educate our voters. And this isn't a new thing. We've had to educate voters since the beginning of time. So it's not like we can just say, oh, our hands are thrown up, we can't do anything. We can. We can get out there and we can run education campaigns. But what we have to continue to tell them is that the grocery prices are because of corporate price gouging. And Kamala Harris has got a solid plan to stop corporate price gouging. And all Trump wants to do is make sure that corporations continue to price gouge, because those are his donors, right? Those are the people that are making sure that he continues on this journey. Kamala Harris is going to get her prosecutor hat on, and she's going to make sure that they are not going to be able to do that.